The Cheating Death Podcast is a comedy and random podcast that contains language, mature subject matter, content, and material that may not be suitable to all listeners. If you would like to submit your feedback, you may do so at thecheatingdeathpodcast@gmail.com. On today's episode of the Cheating Death Podcast, we get into Bret Hart, the Canadian legend, the global sensation, the man behind the pink and black attack. We also get into Natalya Neidhart's book, The Last Hart Standing, Tales from the Dungeon. A beautiful, well-written, outstanding story that has many ups and downs and beautiful situations in between. We provide you with an all-new Annihilation Announcement, joke of the episode, and more. So grab yourself a coffee, grab a warm blanket, put your feet up, and let us show you how you can cheat death. This is your news anchor, the Cleric of Chaos, and this is your Annihilation Announcement. A lot is to be said for national heroes, icons, individuals in whom personify the very national image in which they are looking to represent. Look no further than Canada and Bret Hart and the Hart family. For you see, Bret Hart was, and still is, a national icon and symbol of resilience, professionalism, gratitude, appreciation, and capability. There are very few on this planet who are able to ply their craft like Bret Hart was able to do so. Regardless of whether or not he was coked up in the 80s and messed up in the 90s, it doesn't really matter. Dude's been through a stroke, he's had cancer, he's known quite a few people who have died, and he's lost a few members of his family and long before he should have lost them. So if anybody has a right to be bitter, it's Bret Hart. Understand this. Bret is one of the most enduring and resilient professionals in the history of professional wrestling. May he spend the years of his long, hard-earned retirement in peace. We care about you, Bret. Thank you so very much for all the years of excitement, and thank you for continuing to provide us with meme-worthy content. You are the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. This has been your news anchor, the Cleric of Chaos, and this was your Annihilation Announcement. Willkommen, meine Freunde. Guten Morgen, guten Tag, eine gute Nacht. Ist dein Reisender, deine Ausländer, deine Allesfresser, deine Cleric of Chaos. Bret the Hitman Hart, the best there is, the best there was, the best there will ever be. Understand that this is not just a man in whom used to be a professional wrestler and a national icon. No, he was known the world over for his legacy, for his respect, for his commitment to his craft, and for his absolutely outstanding capabilities as an artist. Bret Hart was born in 1957 in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, to Stu and Helen Hart. The Hart family mansion in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, was home to some of the most brutal, some of the most absolutely destructive, chaotic, enduring, resilient, toughening training techniques, tactics, movements, regimens the world has ever seen. For years, Stu Hart trained many a capable talent and sometimes not so capable talent within the domiciles of the dungeon, lest Ye abandon all hope as ye enter here, for you shall not be heard when your screams are echoing within the basement walls. No soul outside of this home will be able to hear you scream as Stu stretches your spleen. Throughout the time of the early 1970s all the way through to the mid-1990s, Stu Hart was not only revered as a wrestling promoter of Stampede Wrestling in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. No, he was also revered as one of the greatest trainers, one of the greatest confidants, and one of the greatest assets one could have in their professional wrestling career, as evidenced by the many members of the Hart family in whom went on to have successful careers in professional wrestling, including but not limited to Owen Hart, Bret Hart, member of the family Jim the Anvil Neidhart, one of the absolute best members of the Hart family, Brian Pillman, who was indeed adopted into the Hart family a la, special circumstances. We all remember 1997 and the Survivor Series, but what we don't remember so quickly is the Canadian Stampede pay-per-view, which was one of the best pay-per-views of the 90s. No, it's not just speaking as a Canadian. It's not speaking as a German. It's not speaking as both countries in whom loved Bret Hart unequivocally. No, absolutely not. It is speaking as a German Canadian in whom is able to openly acknowledge and understand that that pay-per-view was fire. Bret Hart, of course, had a lot of great matches. Most will recall his matches with Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, in 1991 and 1993 as being among the best of his catalog. One would argue that his house show matches in the early 90s with Ric Flair also fit that category. However, one must understand that when Bret Hart worked with Doink the Clown, yes, Matt Bourne, ladies and gentlemen, there was a absolutely well put out, thought out clinic, an excellent display of athleticism and of technical capability. It was within this time that you saw Doink as being more than just a clown character. No, this guy could work. And it was because of Bret Hart that made that happen. Matt Bourne was a capable wrestler. And Bret Hart saw that. So he pulled it out of him. All throughout his time within the World Wrestling Federation, from the mid-80s all the way through to the Survivor Series 1997, we're not going to discuss the screw job in this episode because absolutely everyone and their mothers knows what the screw job is, and we don't want to waste anyone's time, but understand that Bret Hart's time in the WWF led him to go to WCW after the Survivor Series of 1997, where he was advised that he would be treated like the main event caliber superstar that he was. And to an extent, that was the case. And then Bill Goldberg kicked him in the head and provided him with an untimely end to his career. Bret Hart, the man, the myth, the legend, the Leviathan, will always be remembered as being one of the greatest technicians, one of the greatest workers, and one of the greatest personalities ever in professional wrestling. The pink and black attack, maybe one day it will come back. Last Hart Beating. Natalya Neidhart decides to write an absolutely outstanding, pulchritudinous, very well thought out, well written, emotionally investing book. Natalya Neidhart, of course, being the daughter of the late and the great Jim the Anvil Neidhart, one member of the Hart Foundation going back through to the 80s and the early 90s. Natalya Neidhart is a Canadian professional wrestler born in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and an absolutely outstanding member of the Hart Foundation, both the iteration with TJ Wilson and D.H. Smith, otherwise known as Harry Smith, his regular name, the British Bulldogs kid, and the regular Hart Foundation as a whole. And by the regular Hart Foundation, I mean whenever you mention the Harts, you think Bret, you think Owen, you think Davey. To an extent, you think Brian. You always think Anvil. You think Natalya. You think Stu. You think Helen. You think Bruce. All of the Harts. Natalya is right in there with them. And ever since 2007/2008, when Natalya joined the main roster, she has absolutely made no gripe about the fact that she is one of the primary, one of the premier, one of the strongest professional wrestlers to have ever graced World Wrestling Entertainment. Her book, Last Hart Standing, is one of the greatest up and down books that have ever been written by any Canadian author or by any author of North American descent. For it is throughout this book that you're going to learn a lot about Natalya. You're going to learn a lot about her dad. You're going to learn a lot about how amazing, how hilarious, how unique, and how insightful Jim the Anvil Neidhart was. And you are going to see firsthand, from the perspective of one of the greatest professional wrestlers on the planet, just how difficult life can be sometimes, even when you are on top of the world as a professional wrestler. We are not going to reveal any aspects of this book. We are not going to provide you with any specific details out of respect for Natalya Neidhart, as we have not had any communication or comment as to how much she would like us to cover in the book. Rest assured that along with reading this book with Kevin Cross's book, and reviewing it in kind with Ric Flair's book, and doing a reread of Foley is Good and Have a Nice Day, this book fits very, very well and very easily among the wrestling biography and or autobiographical catalog. So, if you're looking to find yourself a new wrestling book, and you already have Brian Solomon's latest release, a lovely Gorilla Monsoon biopic, by all means, please visit your local Indigo, visit your local Barnes & Noble, and pick up Natalya Neidhart's book. It is well worth the money, it is well worth the time, and you will have a great experience. What is your favorite Bret Hart match? Your favorite Natalya Neidhart match? Or your favorite Jim the Anvil Neidhart promo? Email us at thecheatingdeathpodcast@gmail.com. At the top of the episode, we promised you a list of our top 5 favorite Bret Hart matches. So let us dive right in. Coming in at number 5, we have Bret Hart versus Yokozuna, WrestleMania 9. Coming in at number 4, we have Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, WrestleMania 10. Coming in at number 3, we have Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 12. Coming in at number 2, we have Bret Hart versus the one, the only Undertaker at Heart and Soul SummerSlam. And coming in at number 1, we have Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect at King of the Ring. What is your top 5? Feel free to email us at thecheatingdeathpodcast@gmail.com. Today's joke has been brought to you by the Cleric of Chaos. There were quite a few people in World Championship Wrestling in whom felt in awe, in sheer recognition and amazement at the presence of Bret Hart. Quite a few wanted to introduce themselves, but they did not have the heart to do so. Whether or not you value Bret Hart's matches with Mr. Perfect, with Ric Flair, or with the many individuals in whom he was fortunate to work with in World Championship Wrestling, it doth not matter. Bret Hart is a legend, a leviathan, a pioneer of the industry, and an individual in whom is much revered. Natalya Neidhart's book was an outstanding piece of history, emotion, and true grit and resilience. We highly suggest you pick up a copy today. Take care of yourselves and each other. The Cheating Death Podcast has been brought to you by Nach dem Leben CRDVC, Chaos Realm Records, and CR Deutschland. The Cheating Death Podcast is available on all major podcasting platforms wherever you may find your favorite podcast. If you'd like to support the program, you may do so at the links in the episode description, and please follow our friends, consultants, and fellow producers of the program as well in the episode's description. If you or anyone you know is experiencing psychiatric duress, please have them call 1-800-273-8255 or dial 988 from their mobile phones in the United States or Canada. If they're experiencing domestic violence, please have them call 1-800-799-7233. And if you're looking at adopting a playful puppy or a cute kitten, please visit your local animal adoption rescue center. If you'd like to follow the program, you may do so at twitter.com/weallcheatdeath or twitter.com/Cleric of Chaos. And if you have an episode idea, email us at thecheatingdeathpodcast@gmail.com. Remember, life is hard. No situation comes with a set of instructions that is step by step every single step of the way. Absolutely not. This life is yours. You must capture and see it as you see fit. Remember, we're pulling for you. We're all in this together.